wondered about the ideas behind great innovations? In Stephen Johnson's book, Where Good Ideas Come From, The Natural History of Innovation, Johnson discusses a variety of man's greatest theories, ideas, and innovations based on research he's done in a wide range of fields, from biology to internet culture to humanities. Where Good Ideas Come From is a book about the space or environment in which good ideas are born. Johnson identifies 7 key patterns that help to spark, nurture, and cultivate good ideas. Johnson starts by making a comparison between coral reefs, cities, and the World Wide Web. What does a coral reef have to do with a city or the internet? He references the coral reef because Darwin's first hunch about his theory of evolution can be attributed to his study of atolls and the tiny but rich and thriving ecosystem of coral life that he finds. While a coral reef is a place where biological innovation can flourish, the city and the web are also environments that are suited to generating, diffusing, and adopting good ideas. Johnson stresses that all these environments allow for ideas to be connected rather than protected. Good ideas want to fuse and recombine. Johnson best explains the idea of the adjacent possible when he says to imagine a house that expands with each door you open. Each time you enter a new room, new doors appear that you now have access to. The adjacent possible suggests that our boundaries grow as we explore those boundaries. A great example of the adjacent possible is in the Neo-Nurture, an incubator made out of automobile parts. This incubator was created by Design That Matters, and it was intended for third world countries so that they would be able to repair and maintain incubators with parts that are available to them. Liquid networks are necessary for making connections. A liquid network must be densely populated and plastic. In other words, it needs to provide a lot of opportunities for new connections to be made, and for these connections to be configured in a different way. So what does this mean in real life? For carbon-based life, it's the stickiness of carbon plus the liquidity of H2O that allows for a lot of molecules to be traveling and bumping into each other. All this movement and colliding creates new combinations. In a densely populated urban area, there can also be greater opportunities for ideas to bump into each other. The urban environment also allows for diffusion of ideas to even more eyes and ears and minds. Johnson relates how northern Italy was the most urbanized region in all of Europe during the Renaissance. Just as molecules and cities can be liquid networks, architecture can also affect the ways our ideas travel. Office buildings are moving toward less cubicles and more fluidity. MIT's Building 20 had an extraordinary track record for cultivating breakthrough ideas. Through the use of temporary walls, it was easily reconfigured to meet the needs of each new project. You know that famous eureka moment? Well, it probably didn't happen that way. According to Johnson, most hunches that turn into important innovations unfold over much longer time frames. Johnson calls this the slow hunch. Slow hunches need time to be cultivated, time to bloom. They need a spark and the right kind of environment. Think liquid networks. Work environments can be a place to cultivate ideas. Interestingly, Google has set up something called Innovation Time Off, during which engineers have quote-unquote free time to work on personal projects. Google says 50% of their new products, including Orkut, an Indian social network, and Gmail, have been derived from Innovation Time Off. Slow hunches need to be connected too. Johnson tells of what he calls the failed spark in a 9/11 related incident involving the Phoenix Memo and a Minnesota Flight Academy, 2 hunches that were never connected. You'll have to read the book for that. Serendipity, or happy accidents, are what happens when slow hunches change shape unexpectedly. Again, it's the idea of new connections forming, whether it's inside the brain or between multiple brains. Many times the serendipitous connections are made when one is taken away from the original environment. This is why we come up with great ideas in the shower, while taking a walk, or even during REM sleep. Johnson encourages the use of idea exchange, like Salesforce.com uses. He also stresses the need for making ideas public and highlights the restrictions that patents put on good ideas. Check out Nike Green Exchange and see how they are sharing their eco-friendly ideas. Innovative experiments thrive on useful mistakes. Darwin's Darwin's theory of evolution largely depends on useful mistakes, or mutations. Hostile environments, or noise, actually tends to make us sharper. There have been a large number of ideas in science that can be attributed to contaminated lab environments. Finding a new use for a tool that was designed for something else is what Johnson calls exaptation. Cross-disciplinary students and people who are true multitaskers are able to think in a diverse and horizontal way. Look at the many fields of study that Darwin and Ben Franklin were into. These guys had what Johnson calls the connected mind. Diverse fields of expertise helped John Snow to discover the mystery of cholera's waterborne transmission. He was a trained physician who had tinkered with chloroform inhalers. He discovered that the spreading of cholera didn't follow the pattern of an airborne gas. Also, he noticed the lack of damage being done to the lungs. He had to think like a molecular chemist as well as a physician. Ideas that are built on top of another existing idea creates a new platform. They can be layered or stacked upon each other like Darwin's coral reef. Johnson gives a great example of how the technology used to trace the signal sent out by Sputnik in 1957 has led to the everyday use of GPS for our iPhones and Blackberries. Johnson gives us sound advice in cultivating good ideas. Forget the eureka. Instead, take walks, cultivate hunches, write everything down, but keep it messy. Embrace serendipity, make helpful mistakes, take on hobbies, go to coffee houses, let others build on your ideas. And don't forget to borrow, recycle, and reinvent.